Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new guide. Today, we will be focusing on being a captain, and more specifically, how to glide and how to dodge enemy attacks. So, we are going to go to the captain side, and I'm going to show you exactly what I would do to best dodge enemies. So, first thing I would do is create a private party. Then I would set my cannons to the preset that I would like. So I usually have two Gatling guns on the left side, one at the port, one at the fore, and then I press continue. Then I could leave the match, and then when I enter or open a queue, a public queue, then that will allow me to keep that preset, and it will allow anyone to join my boat. Because obviously, if you have a private party, they will need to have the code to join your boat, and if you don't have friends that will play with you, then that's a bit tough to destroy enemies with. But let's get on with it. We're going to be showing you how to drift, how to glide, and how to dodge enemy attacks. So as you can see in the top right of my screen, I have my keystroke. So whenever I press a button, at least any of the relevant buttons, you will see which buttons I am pressing. So let's give a very simple gliding guide in the open ocean here. Okay, so the most useful technique that you will be using will probably be rotating your ship. So to rotate your ship, you're going to hold left shift, turn in one direction, and when you're sideways, straighten out. Now, as you can see, we are gliding this way, as you can see, okay? Now, if you want to rotate back to straight, just turn left and straighten out again, and then let go of left shift, and you will go back to straight, okay? That's the most useful technique. Now, when you want to attack an enemy, I think the most useful technique is actually going to be going diagonally around the shots of the enemies. So when I say enemies, I mean like the crabs, the octopi, and the other animals that will start attacking you. And you will use this technique to dodge their attacks. The reason being, if you are moving in this direction and a crab is aiming at the center of your ship, if you drift like this and you go diagonally, the sword of the crab, for example, will go behind your ship rather than into your ship. Okay? Now we're going to show you an example here, and we're going to use the crabs because as long as you could dodge the crab's attacks, you should be able to dodge any other enemies. And I would like you to pay attention to the top right of my screen, the keystrokes, because when we have the keystrokes, I think that's the best way for you to, I guess, more get a feel of what buttons you'll be clicking and when. So let's give it a second to get to the island. But yeah, as I mentioned, uh, this technique should be applicable to all the animals, maybe with some variation. Golems are maybe a bit different, but octopi very similar to crabs. The skeletons also very similar to crabs, although they do very little damage. Serpents are different, but the thing with serpents is that they barely do any damage, so it does. Sorry, they barely give you any loot, so you don't even want to farm them anyways. Sharks are also a bit different, but yeah. One more thing about gliding: when you're going sideways, let's say we are sideways right now. Whenever you want, and we're straightened out, you could lower your mast to stop or slow down, and then you could just raise it again, and you won't start going forward. Instead, you'll continue going sideways. So keep that in mind. That is a very useful technique. You see how our mast is down, and then we raise it, and then we start going sideways again? Yeah, it's very useful to know that. Okay, but let's give an example of the crabs and how to dodge the attacks. Let's go to these crabs here. What you usually want to do is circle around the crabs, because by circling around the crabs, you could continue to dodge their attacks. So usually you want to lure them away from the island. That way the island doesn't get involved. You don't hit the island. Especially the crab island, the legs go out a lot farther than it actually looks. So they will interfere quite a bit. Okay, let's go to these crabs. That one's a bit too close to the crab island. Okay. Now I hope I'm able to do this properly without pretending like I know what I'm doing and then it doesn't actually work. Okay, this crab is already low HP. Let's see if he starts shooting at us. Okay, we got that other crab ready to shoot at us though. Okay, so if we keep our distance, and then right as we see he's about to throw, we start drifting and go diagonally. You see how his swords are now going behind our ship? And at the same time, we could allow our crew to have a good angle to shoot at these crabs. Now, when we're out of range, we could just go straight again and then start gliding once he starts throwing his swords again. It's a very good technique. Definitely a very good technique. You shouldn't take any damage if you do this properly. The biggest issue is when you're circling around. If there's a crab that comes on your left side like that, you might have to drift completely sideways to potentially avoid some of their swords. I got hit once, but you see now I could dodge more of their swords. But if we just keep drifting this way, we lure the crabs away from the island, and maybe we slow down a bit to let them catch up, and then we go quick again. I got hit again. But I think you get the point, the main point. Once again, the majority of enemies shoot in this similar way, and if you just master the technique of gliding against these crabs, you should be able to use that technique on every other enemy, with perhaps the exception of serpents, which you don't want to farm anyways, and maybe the big ships and the golems. So, but even then, you're always going to use a similar technique, and if you adjust it based on who you are attacking, you should be perfectly fine to to destroy any enemy or allow your crew to destroy any enemy while you dodge all of their attacks. Now, I always have the 2 close range cannons on the left side, but you have to be careful because if you get too close, it is a lot harder to dodge the attacks of the enemies and allow your crew to continue to fire at the enemy, because obviously if you are going directly at the crab, they will not have an angle. Like right here, he can't hit the crab, my crewmate, right? I need to provide enough of an angle so that he is able to destroy the crab. And that's why we usually like to stay farther away, play a bit more safe, get as much damage as, well, it's actually not as much damage. Close range does more damage. But make sure you dodge the attacks and allow yourself not to get hit. Because close range cannons, I think we're too far away right here to even hit. So yeah, it's probably better if we we're on the long range side. But anyways, I think that's enough of a guide, guys. I hope you can look at my keystrokes and learn better how to perfect this technique. But ultimately, practice is number one. You know, as long as you understand the idea of drift and then straighten out your ship, it should be very easy to get a hang of this, and definitely you should be able to dodge many more attacks. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. I'll probably see you in another guide. I'm not sure which guide I'll create, but we'll see. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something, and I hope now it's a lot easier for you to take less damage against these enemies. Bye.